How's it going, everybody?
You know who it is.
My name is San Wu, and since the EP-133 has just been released and it has some functional updates over the KO2, I wanted to talk to you about my updated update wish list for this one. So I've got this neat list here. We're going to reveal them one by one, of course, because we got to keep things exciting for YouTube. Let's start straight away with the first one, which is pretty obvious. We want resampling in the KO2, and David from Teenage Engineering has agreed, or at least he mentioned that he notices most people want this feature in the KO2, and that is something they are looking to integrate. If it will really happen or not, I have no clue. At least he has acknowledged that most people want a resampling feature in the KO2 because that would allow us to stack effects on top of one another and resample a single pad, for example, with a high pass filter and then with a low pass filter and so on. So the sound design capabilities would be much expanded and it would just get you so much more functionality out of this device. So resampling is an obvious one and I really hope they will implement it someday. Then the next one, reverse. And I mean reversing samples, which is a glaring omission as well, that there's no ability to reverse a sample in the sound edit menu. And I think that must be rather simple to implement. I'm not a programmer or anything like that, but I assume as almost any sampler out there can reverse samples, this shouldn't be too difficult to implement. And again, it's a great option to have if you want to sound design and just take your sequences a little further. Also, I could imagine this would be interesting combined with a punch-in effect. Maybe you could have a reverse punch-in effect where all your samples immediately reverse. So that would be pretty cool, but more about punch-in effects in one of my later update wishes. Next up, we've got the loop functionality. Yes, we already have a loop functionality for parts of your sequence, but I mean looping of samples. And that means a sample plays till the end, goes back to the beginning and plays again, and so on and so forth. And of course, that would be really cool to make a short sample much longer and have pads that you can play indefinitely. Of course, with that, something like a crossfading between the loop start and end point would be very good to have, just like they've implemented in the OP1 field to make the transitions from start to end smoother. So yeah, sample looping. And one way I think they could implement this is, for example, the button combo sound and then loop, sound and loop, and your sound plays looped, and press it again to unloop it. And what do we get next up? I don't even know, so this is exciting for me too. Oh yes, hands-free sampling. That's also something many people ask for, because at the moment, if we want to record a sound into the device, we have to go into the sample mode and then press and hold one of these pads and then play our sound or make a noise like this. And we press the pad down for as long as we want to sample. While I like this functionality and how this works, sometimes you want to play an instrument while recording the sample. And of course, if one hand is occupied pressing down the pad, it can't play the instrument. So hands-free sampling is something that I think many people wish for as well. And I think the easy way to implement this would be while in the sampling menu, hold Shift and press a pad. And now it is armed for recording and will wait for the sound to exceed the threshold level and then start sampling. And when you want to stop sampling, you just press the pad again or something like that. And the next one. Yes, recording punch-in effects, which also is a big one to me. If you are watching this video, you probably know what these punch-in effects are and that they sound cool and that they are fun to play with live. However, if you want to build up a song, the possibility to record these punch-in effects and sequence them would be really great, because it's just an easy layer that you can add to create your song and put it in there. And obviously the old Pocket Operator 33 could already do this, or in fact, I think all the Pocket Operators could record their punch-in effects. So why can't this unit do it? I have no clue. It would be great to have. Next up, Effects Editor. So this is something that goes hand in hand with the punch-in effects, because I mean an effects editor for the punch-in effects. Right now we have a given amount of punch-in effects and they cannot be changed. They are there like that. And as we've seen in the new EP-133 Medieval, they have included a few new punch-in effects that are not included in this one. So what I would wish for is to use the online utility that you need to transfer samples off the device. And in the online utility have a section where you can actually edit the punch-in effects. So you can exchange them for a different punch-in effect, or maybe even edit the value slightly. So set a minimum and maximum value for whatever is being affected by the given punch-in effect. And I think that would be really cool to just pick and choose, drag and drop a certain effect onto a certain pad, and then be able to use that to your liking and set them up exactly, how you want to use them. And we're getting closer to the end of our list. Effects per group. So I don't know exactly what is possible on the device given the processing power that the unit has. I don't know how much room there is to add more effects. Of course, effects processing always uses a certain amount of CPU, and the more complicated the effects or the more effects you want to layer, the more processing power you need. So I don't know what the limitations are, but if there is a possibility to have effects per group, that would be really cool. Right now, you go to the effects, you can assign one effect and then can decide how much of each group you send to this effect, but it's the same effect for all groups. So one way you could solve this in terms of UI, you press a group button and then press effects maybe, or I think that's already taken up. Anyway, I'm sure there's one way you could get around that and implement it. Effects per group would be really nice. Next up, yes, of course, the EP-133 has got an arpeggiator function in the timing menu. I guess that could be implemented on the KO2 very easily as well. And I believe we are getting to the last one. Yes, multi-samples. That's also something that was introduced in the EP-133. And this was introduced, I believe, only for the stock samples, for the medieval samples that came with the 1320. And that means that for different notes, so for C3 will be a different sample than C4, for example. So the different pitches will have a unique sample rather than having the same sample just pitched up and pitched down. And that was only available for the stock sounds, not yet for creating your own multi-samples. So maybe they could implement the possibility of creating your own multi-samples on the KO2 as well as on the EP-133. And create your own user multi-samples and put them in here. So this is my wish list of feature updates. Of course, there are many more possibilities. So I want to know from you, what do you think? What else could be added to this list? Which features are you hoping and wishing for? If you got any, feel free to let me know down in the comments. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I would appreciate a like, a sub, and ringing the bell. Hope to see you in the next one. Until then, have a wonderful time. Peace.